Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this podcast. I'm Kevin Kane with Memphis Tourism, and today we're going to talk about Memphis Tourism being 100 years old this year, 2025. We are now been operating as an organization promoting this great city and county for over now 100 years, and we're joined today by our Chief Marketing Officer, my partner in crime, who we've worked together for a long, long time, is Regena Bearden. Regena, thank you so much for joining us today. Well, 100 years is something to celebrate, and that's what we're doing this year.
Isn't that amazing? God, and we've been in the trenches with it for a long time. So looking forward to sharing some thoughts with you today.
Welcome to Memphis Tourism's podcast today as we talk about the 100th anniversary of our organization, which is a real milestone. We started in 1925, and here we are at 2025, and we are saying, man, we have really seen so many changes over the last 100 years. Tourism and hospitality is one of the largest industries in Memphis and Shelby County. It's gone through a lot of changes through that time, and someone who has been with Memphis Tourism for north of 30 years, I'll just leave it at that, is Regena Bearden, our Chief Marketing Officer, and she's really at the center of the stage of really marketing and promoting so many things that we do that make Memphis unique and make Memphis a place where people want to come and visit literally from all over the world. So Regena, welcome today.
Thank you, Kevin.
And, a lot going on in 2025. We turned 100. And we were not the only ones celebrating milestone, birthdays. Peabody Hotel, 100 years old this year.
Isn't that amazing?
And there's others that you've been working with that are either 90 or 70 or 50 or, more than 100.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting. And, of course, one of the things, because we always try to weave a music component into everything we do, we are also celebrating the 100 Days of Blues that will culminate in September with B.B. King's 100th birthday, which would have been his 100th birthday. And I think that was your idea, or whoever's idea it was. It's a great idea. And we've been doing things, this summer as it relates to that. People a lot of times ask me, what is the single biggest hook that brings people to town? I want to ask you that question. What really is at the center of Memphis's ability to make people curious about wanting to come here?
Great question, Kevin. There's probably 100 things that bring people here, but what comes to the top is our music culture and how ingrained that is in everything that we do, no matter if it's a festival event, someone opening a restaurant or bar, music is always at the top. But we have so many other things that help inspire visits, depending on where you're from, and how often you come to Memphis. Our proximity markets come to Memphis up to 16 times a year, and they come for music, but they come for a lot of other things as well. Our international and long-haul visitors are coming for what's unique to Memphis, what is one of a kind that they can't find in other parts of the United States. But music is always at the top of that list.
When people come here, obviously, they certainly know about Elvis and they know about B.B. King and they know about some of the, icons. But it's interesting. A lot of people know the music of today, and it's also relevant. It's also something at Memphis Tourism that you do all over the world with current musicians and current artists and how they are kind of reshaping the Memphis sound that they're taking around the world today. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's what keeps the energy and the freshness and really continually appealing to new audiences, is to bring current day music into what we are known for, blues, soul, rock and roll, and everything in between, whether it's Glorilla or, in the popularity she brings to Memphis, and she loves saying that she's from Memphis, and that really helps us as a destination, or Justin Timberlake or Mono Neon. And there are just many, many, many artists that help us really continue that kind of music magic that Elvis and BB and so many others, whether it was Rufus Thomas or what was happening at Stax, So we try to stay really close to our heritage because it supports a lot of our tourist attractions like Graceland and Beale Street, Blues Hall of Fame, and so on. Rock and soul. We could keep going. We have those anchor tourist attractions around a lot of our legacy music, but one of our goals is to always stay current and keep broadening those younger audiences and supporting those musicians that are coming out of Memphis because they're supporting us as they talk about us.
Yeah, it's interesting. People sometimes will approach me and they say, I never see or very rarely see Memphis commercials or TV commercials talking about Memphis. And of course, you do have a large inventory of video. Many of those are conducive for 30-second TV spots or 1-minute commercials, et cetera, et cetera. Talk a little bit about what really is the driver to attract and to speak to visitors to get them to want to come here.
Yeah. Well, one reason Memphians don't see our videos and TV spots is that we're running those outside of Memphis most of the time in target markets like St. Louis or Dallas or Chicago. And a lot of our things are digital. So it's, 15, 30 seconds. It's not back in the day where there were 1 minute and 2 minute, videos. So you've got to capture people's attention really quickly. But the inspiration in all of our videos, the base is always going to be music, but we might be talking about visual arts. We might be talking about outdoor activity. But the music is always weaved in there as a part of our brand. So it's just one of those brand pillars that is always there. I think Memphians aren't going to go to memphistravel.com. So that's why we created the I Love Memphis blog, so that Memphians could really see what we are doing and have that rich content that hopes inspires them to invite their friends and family to come to Memphis, but also for them to get out and to enjoy some of our tourism amenities.
I know that you mentioned the I Love Memphis blog. It's interesting. When we first started that a number of years ago, I had somebody approach me somewhere and they said, your blogger was very opinionated about what they thought was the best or top 2 or 3 barbecue restaurants. And of course, that's such a dangerous topic in Memphis, who has the best barbecue, because I think you did a inventory count and there was over 130 barbecue restaurants in Memphis.
That's right.
In Shelby County. And of course, and they're really all good in their own way. They may be a little bit different from one from the other, but there's certainly Memphis barbecue is one of those culinary things that we really hang our hat on, that, Memphis is really famous for, so to speak. Talk a little bit about how, with the I Love Memphis blog, how you really wanted that to be very organic and very natural and not controlled by us or by an entity.
Yeah. Before I answer that question, Kevin, I love the debate around barbecue because it gets Memphians talking and it's really fun. Craig Brewer did a television spot for us in video a few years ago, and that's what it was, is Memphians debating about the best barbecue. It was an engaging conversation. It was so much fun to do, and everybody loved it, including Memphians. But yeah, when we started the I Love Memphis blog 16 years ago, we knew that one of the reasons that people make vacation buying decisions is by referral of family and friends. We also knew that there was a void in really positive information to Memphians. And so those two puzzle pieces came together very quickly and in kind of a stealth approach. We didn't advertise that Memphis Tourism had hired a blogger, and then we did the I Love Memphis blog. You remember Carrie Crawford helped us start that. She put I Heart Memphis on a piece of notebook paper, and she asked people to hold it and talk about why they love Memphis. And that's really how we started. It's very organic. And today it's a little more polished. We have a lot more voices involved and different bloggers and freelancers that we utilize. But the whole purpose is to show Memphians and their friends and family what there is to see and do and eat and all the activity that there is. And there's just, if you've ever been to the blog, and if you haven't, please go there, ilovememphisblog.com. But if you go to that blog, you see the best and the most fun, and you see Memphians enjoying it. and that's been a big inspiration for visitation as well. So the blog started out being mostly local, and now it is more a 50-50 split on visitors going to the blog, and Memphians taking advantage of it as well. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that it inspired other blogs like Choose 901 and other blogs to get out there and talk about positive things. There's no competition there. We need everyone finding all the richness that's available in Memphis, not just our visitors.
You often talk about in marketing Memphis through Memphis Tourism, you use the peso model. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, peso stands for paid, earned, shared, and owned. And when we go into a market and we start speaking to our audiences in that market, it's a really nice checklist of how we bring all the marketing activities and programs together. So we buy a lot of media, obviously. We have a great PR team that works with journalists and influencers for earned media, which is another great tool to use for destinations. And then making sure that information is shared across appropriate channels, and then our own owned, whether that's the map and tourist guide or MemphisTravel.com, our own properties, really balancing that narrative and making sure those brand pillars are carried through on those channels as well.
It's interesting. A lot of times people kind of look at us and they say, well, you guys have such a big budget. Why don't you do other things with that money? And of course, I try to talk about how, we attract Memphis attracts, not just us, but Memphis attracts over 13 million visitors from literally all over the world. And of course, it's the job of the Peabody to promote the Peabody. It's the job of Graceland to promote Graceland. It's the job of the National Civil Rights Museum to promote the National Civil Rights Museum. But it's Memphis Tourism's job to promote everybody and to be able to put a package together that makes Memphis have enough interest for people to want to come here and spend, in some cases of 2 days and 1 night, or 3 days and 2 nights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How have you seen that change over the years?
I think that we have a really amazing tourism industry, all of the businesses you mentioned and more. We have 60 tourist attractions. We have hundreds of hotels. We have really nice events. All of those play a role in that $4 billion economic impact. And what I've always noticed about Memphis tourism businesses is they enjoy working together, and we become that agency that helps lead them and bring people together, so that if someone's going to Graceland, that they know about all of the other things that there are to see and do in Memphis. And we accomplish one of our goals with that by extending the length of stay of the visitors. So there's enough love to go around, but it takes an organization like ours to really bring people together and be that leader, so that we maximize those visitors, create great ambassadors while we're doing it. And we couldn't do it without our partners that you mentioned and all those others too.
You also lead efforts internationally, and we're so fortunate to have a team of people that represent us in different parts of the world. And talk a little bit about how the evolution of kind of international marketing and promotion has really played well for a destination like Memphis and getting visitors from outside the United States here.
Well, Kevin, that one of my favorite markets is the international market, all of them, whether it's Canada or Europe, Japan, Australia. One of the reasons that I love them so much is they stay longer than, a regional visitor. They typically, their holiday is so important to them, more important to them than a car. So they become amazing ambassadors for us as well. In those markets, what I noticed when I first started working for Memphis Tourism, I noticed that many of the European visitors knew more about our music than some of the folks that had lived in Memphis their whole life. So they do their homework. They really embrace the American culture, especially the music. And it just starts with the music. and that market has grown to us. When I first started working this market, it was difficult sometimes to manage the international market because language was a factor in some cases. Those markets take a development process that the markets in the United States don't necessarily require the same. So it's been kind of a labor of love, and we've seen those numbers grow. We've got a great team in our international markets. We've got a great team here in Memphis that helps connect those puzzle pieces to actually grow that business. And we've only seen it grow. And the other part that I love about the internationals, when they are here, our locals really love that they are here, and they embrace them, and they are just, it gives them pride that someone would travel as far away as Australia to come to their hometown. So there's so many benefits to our visitors being here, especially our internationals, but really all our visitors, that turns Memphians into a part of their experience. And that destination experience is really, really important.
This is our Memphis Tourism's 100th anniversary. And there are other, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, there's a number of businesses in our industry that are also celebrating milestone birthdays. Of course, one of them being the Peabody Hotel, which is also going to be 100 years this year. How have you seen this destination change? You've been here for a while. And what have you seen that's really changed the most?
Well, gosh, there's a list. It's an incredible list of things that have been done over the course of the time that I've been here. That's everything from, the Civil Rights Museum opening, the zoo expansion, Stax, Blues Hall of Fame. The most recently, in the past few years, the convention center was improved, which we had been working on for quite a long time. We've seen international flights. We've seen things change there. So there's been more positive than negative. We've seen, when I started, we were barely at a $1 billion mark, and now we are at over $4 billion. The number of people employed by our industry has grown tremendously. So not only has the destination matured and grown and improved with over 60 tourist attractions, many new hotels, all across the city. And I do love that about our city, from Shelby Farms out east to all the way down to the Mississippi River, which is still a major attraction for us as we welcome visitors. So if you think about 100 years ago, our biggest attraction was the Mississippi River. And now we can just start at the river and go east and just count multiple reasons why people come. So that's what I've seen, is just the community embracing tourism. Our city leaders over the course of all those years saw tourism as an economic solution and a piece of the puzzle. But it's just grown and grown. And in 2026, Kevin, it's going to grow again with the Memphis Arts Museum opening at Front and Union. So
$300 million investment that's going to make right on our waterfront. And they wanted to come downtown because of their ability to even attract more visitors, because so many of our visitors end up in downtown. So, we're very excited about that. And I know you're working so hard on that. The work that we do here, which so much of the efforts and the work that we do is really done outside the Memphis market. A lot of times Memphians don't see or have a clue, what we might be working on. But, rest assured, many of those 13 million plus visitors would not be here without some type of a marketing effort and an effort that you lead. Courageously, and you do such a great job. Regena, you and I have had so many great moments in promoting this great city, and I always want to go back to 2004 on the 50th anniversary of rock and roll, and we kind of led what we called a global in time period, and we had Isaac Hayes and B.B. King and and Jerry
Justin
Schilling
Timberlake.
and Justin Timberlake. And I mean, we had so many people that helped us celebrate that, but we really formed also a relationship, and they reached out to us first, the city of Liverpool, England. And I can remember in those early planning sessions, they said, after we kicked it off at the Hard Rock Cafe in New York, and that broadcast, literally the news of that went around the world, especially in the music trades. And we got a phone call from the city of Liverpool. They said, listen, we recognize Elvis was chapter 1 of the beginning of rock and roll, but clearly the British invasion led by the Beatles was certainly chapter 2. And we should celebrate the 50 years together. And we said, great idea. And that, of course, that formed an amazing relationship with the city of Liverpool that still lives today. And what did you think about all that craziness and what we were doing at that time?
Kevin, we just got on the train and ran with it, right?
Yeah.
It was so much fun. And it also just developed this amazing relationship that existed there before through Elvis and the Beatles. I mean, John Lennon said, before Elvis, there was nothing. And they came and, that we have this commonality with the rivers. They have the Mersey, we have, the Mississippi River, the music. So there were so many nice connections there, just like what we have, with the state of Mississippi with a lot of our artists. But they reached out to us. They understood our value. The Europeans loved visiting us. So that was kind of a no-brainer for us. And then you remember this, Kevin, we have a marker on Matthew Street right across from the Cavern Club.
Rockin' Soulmates.
Yeah, Rockin'
Memphis and
Soulmates.
Liverpool.
Yeah. So that's still living today, and it's bringing us visitors and also just fun, and it does keep the music current. There's a lot of great music coming out of Liverpool still, just like out of Memphis, with our new artists.
So Regena, let's talk about something. What is one of the craziest things that's happened in the last 30 plus years of our 100-year anniversary?
Oh my gosh. I think there are 100 crazy things, Kevin, don't you? I mean, some we can't tell. We can't tell some of those stories, right? But they're all great stories. Wow. I'm trying to think of, one of the proud moments was, when BB King's, club opened on Beale Street. First of all, it was just an amazing party, and probably people listening to us were at that party. Tommy Peters opened that, BB King, and since we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of BB King, that kind of came to the top of my memory. But what a great moment! What a turnaround for Beale Street when BB King's opened. And then all the times that we went there, when we would take clients, to BB King's, you would see amazing new artists, young artists that would just do some crazy things. And then most recently, when we kicked off 100 Days of Blues, the Tennessee Mass Choir was there. Was that not rocking?
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, that was on a Sunday brunch, and even the folks that work in BB King's were moving and grooving with the music the whole time. So those have been some of the most fun. I don't know if that's crazy, but it's the most fun. And, our jobs become, those really special places.
You talked about BB King's in the opening, and I was there that day as well. I wasn't working for Memphis Tourism at that time. I was still in the hotel industry, but I was there. And it really was a defining moment that really kind of changed the direction of Beale Street. You were one of those that was down there with one of the early businesses that kind of struggled down there. But in the 80s, some things we got off to a pretty strong start, and then they would kind of fizzle. And but it seemed like in 1991, when BB King's opened, that when that neon came on, it kind of changed. Just really changed the direction of Beale Street. And, it's interesting. So many Memphians have this perception that Beale Street has all these problems or it's not safe, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As when you say Memphis, Beale Street is one of the first things that will come to people's mind. And just like Bourbon Street, when you say New Orleans, I mean, they say Times Square when you say New York. Beale Street is really one of our strong magnets that brings people to this community. And,
it absolutely is, Kevin. It is a strong economic engine for our community. And I think that, with FedEx Forum, with hotels like the Hyatt Centric, with the Orpheum's constant programming in the theater there's so much energy around Beale Street. And I guess I just want to say to anyone listening, I mean, I've been on Beale Street all hours of the night and day. I've never had a problem. We're a city. So in cities, you have to, pay attention. And that's true in every city, but, we're very proud of Beale Street. I think most Memphians are proud of Beale Street. We're looking forward to some new chapters with Beale Street. I think there's a lot of discussions about where we go from here. And, I love the flippers. I hope the flippers never go away. I used to love you remember the goats at Silky Sullivan's? They're still there. They're just some quirky, fun things that look a little crazy, but just make that experience for locals and Memphians that are going to Beale Street. So those quirky little things are important. And those are Memphians engaging in Beale Street. I mean, when Tom Cruise filmed, The Firm here, remember the flippers made them famous? They flip at the NBA games. All that started on Beale Street. So Kevin, everybody knows that you love to be Santa Claus. You like to give gifts and make people smile and be the Santa Claus in the room. So if you were real Santa Claus and could give Memphis anything or Memphians anything, what would that be?
Well, I think what I would give Memphians is the same love for this community as I have.
Wow, that's a great answer.
Memphis is a great community, not perfect. They say we're grit and grindy. We're grit and grind that the obviously Zebo and those early Grizzly Stars kind of developed our attitude. And but it really did define the type of community we are. But, sometimes Memphians, are kind of looking at Memphis as a city that is, broken or has more problems than things that are good. And, every city has problems. Nobody, people aren't perfect. But, Memphis is a great community. We 13 plus million visitors and growing are not wrong. They have choices. Many of them could have gone other places, but they chose to come to Memphis. And, you and I have been so fortunate to listen to people talk about what a great time they had here and what they experienced here and how special it was and what a great community this is. But unfortunately, sometimes if I'm at a restaurant or a grocery store or what have you, or even a gas station, somebody will lead off with what's wrong with Memphis and why can't we do this or why can't we do that? And listen, we should not make excuses and we should not defend misbehavior of any form or fashion. But the bottom line is every now and then you got to take a step back and you got to say, but you know what? It's a pretty darn community here. It's a pretty great community. And Memphis is clearly we're fighting for. So I would give that love for your hometown. If you're going to live here, you need to love it and fight for it.
That's right.
That's what I wish everybody would do.
Yeah. So an official request from you and me, everybody, find the love, spread the love. Memphis is depending on you. And so many people do that every day, Kevin. We just get to hear the visitor. I wish that all Memphians could hear the visitors talk about what a great time they had here, how they want to come back, how they're going to tell all their family and friends. So, any Memphians out there listening, please invite all your family and friends. They're going to have a great time. And then we are a great resource for you through I Love Memphis blog or memphistravel.com.
And Regena, what does research say about friends and family?
The number one way that people choose a vacation destination is through referral of family and friends.
So we could spend millions of dollars on advertising, which we do, but it still comes down to that personal endorsement of a relative or a friend saying, boy, I went to Memphis and I did this and that and this and that. And I ate here and I ate there and I did this. And that's why people come here a lot of times. And that's why they do. Their itinerary is built on what the people that they're gave them those referrals.
Absolutely.
They want to do exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So they can come back and tell their friends exactly what their experience was at those things.
And they love finding those things that are not obvious, you know, those weird and wonderful things. Memphis has weird and wonderful stuff on every corner, it feels like. So there's just 1,000 things to do before you die in Memphis. So there's books written about it. So grab one of those if you are looking for some things that are off the beaten path. Kevin, let me turn the tables on you. I want to ask you a question. What's going to happen in Memphis for the next 100 years? We're celebrating our 100-year anniversary. There's going to be 100 more. You and I won't be here, but.
Well, I hope we're here for part of that time, number one. But let me just say that, there's a lot of things that I want to see in the next 100 years. There's so much that's happened in the last 100 years. But when I look in that crystal ball to see what Memphis looks like in the future, first of all, let me say that we sit on an artesian well, and water is gold, and it's only going to be more precious in the next 100 years. And I think you will continue people coming from all over the world to our community because of our water supply. And now, how does that relate to tourism?
Hey, Kevin, you know why there's so many breweries, great breweries here? Because of that water.
Exactly right. But, how does all this relate? Well, I hope in 100 years we have some multiple international flights to take people from Memphis to different parts of the world nonstop. I want to see the cleanest city in America, a city that's got great green space, which we do. But we preserve our green space. We grow our zoo. We make sure that there's ample greenery and flowers and clean streets and continue to develop those one of a kind amenities like what's going to hopefully take place in 2026 with the new Memphis Arts Museum, which you say, well, every city has an art museum. Of course they do, but Memphis has such a rich art collection. So much of it's never even been displayed because there's no room for it. And they could reposition art that would last us for so many decades with just what we have in our possession, not what we will accumulate in the years to come. So, and I want to keep hearing that great Memphis sound, the next iteration of whatever the genre is. If it's what comes after hip hop, what comes after rap, what's the next great thing? I want to see Memphis to be on the leading edge of that with our great arts community and our great music community. So, those are the things that I want to see. And I want to see a riverfront that is finally so vibrant, where people make their way to the river and they can go to dinner, they can go for drinks, they can listen to music, and they can do it all right on the water. And they can look back at a great, beautiful skyline. Those are some of the things that I want to see, obviously, in the next 100 years.
Well, and I know we want to add, some big hotels to support our convention center.
No doubt about it.
So hopefully that's in the works, and that's definitely going to be coming to us in the future.
We have over 250 hotels, but we only have 6 hotels that are 300 rooms or larger. That really and truly is can be very challenging sometimes when you're trying to bring big conventions here and et cetera. So we desperately need some larger, full-size hotels to add to the many hotels that we already have here.
That's right. And I think the opportunity is coming our way in the future.
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
Well, Regena, thank you so much for joining me today as we talk about the 100th anniversary of Memphis and kind of some of the things we do as we market and promote this great city around the world. And So I look forward to continuing the fight in the pursuit of making Memphis a destination of choice. And, I look forward to having people join us on our future podcasts as we talk about things that impact this community through tourism. And hopefully today you found something that was exciting, something maybe you didn't know. And if you have any suggestions at all, please, you can reach out to us at memphistravel.com. And you can certainly reach us if you say, hey, have you thought about this or have you thought about that? It's our city, all of our cities. And thank you for being with us today. Till next time, Kevin Kane.